Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang. Please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chat channel donations, Venmo, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, I got to talk about this. Daniel Jacobs did a recent Premier Boxing Champs interview, and he was talking about a Golovkin fight and a rematch. He says the first fight, that was a 50-50 fight, and I win the rematch 100%. I know how to fight this guy now with no hesitancy because I've already experienced his best. I'm still learning at 30 years old, but he's an older guy, and it's tough to teach an old dog new tricks. He says it's hard to knock out Triple G, but we already know I have the speed advantage. I need to be more aggressive from the start. If I apply a little more aggression, stand my ground, and keep my jab accuracy to a minimum, I win a decision. I really feel that I executed a game plan to get myself a 2-round edge in the scoring, but it comes down to how the judges score the rounds. Golovkin was known as the power puncher, and they like aggressive fighters. At worst, it should have been a draw. So that's from Danny Jacobs. I want to give my thoughts. I agree with him. I don't remember my actual scorecard, but I covered the fight at the Garden live as media, and I scored it for Jacobs. I thought it was a close fight. See, this is the thing. Some people say, "Oh, Ego, you're biased. You only like this guy. You're biased." But listen, if I was so biased, how come I can be fair in my assessments? You know what I mean? No one's changing the fact that the fight was close. The knockdown made the fight close, and it was compelling, and there was action and drama, and you know what I mean? Same thing with Ward Kovalev. I have Ward winning, yes, but at the same time, it was a close fight. You know what I mean? And I never called it a robbery, or you know what I mean? It's just funny. Usually the people who point the finger, "Oh, you're biased," is usually them. They're the ones that are biased. You're like, "Oh, Kovalev beat him easy, robbery." You know what I mean? You're doing that extreme stuff. I'm telling you what it is and what I seen. And it was a close fight, period. So some rounds were debatable, put an asterisk by them. So kind of depends on what you like. The reason overall why I gave it to Jacobs, he was more fluid with his combination punches. And I really seen I think Triple G was reduced, just like the Canelo fight kind of. He's kind of reduced to just jabbing. Once what he normally would do to guys is not working and effective, that's where you see the other gaps. Now, don't get it twisted. Triple G's a good fighter. He's hard to beat cleanly, evident by his last 2 fights. He has a hell of a chin. But at the end of the day, it's just, I think Jacobs, he was showing you, he was letting his hands go. But then my only gripe with Jacobs, and I think he's kind of alluding to this in his interview, is I thought he should have took more stands. Just because you know this is a cash cow, you know that they're trying to make the future Golovkin versus Canelo fight, things like that. So I think if he would have took more stands, I think he really could have backed up Triple G in those spots. Now the thing is, Triple G's he's deadly because you don't want to do too much. And if you haven't, and I understand why Jacobs fought. I understand why Canelo and Jacobs, why there's some hesitance, because Triple G is a good fighter, and you know what I mean, especially for Jacobs, because he was the first one to push Golovkin the distance in a long time. Golovkin was on a 23 knockout. You know what I mean? Canelo got the piggyback off the fact that Jacobs just pushed Triple G the distance. But especially for Jacobs, I feel him because, you know what I mean, this guy has 23 knockouts in a row. You're going to be cautious. Everything, because you don't, how do I explain this? A boxer, they always want, when someone's being built up, it's easy for fans to be like, "Oh, this guy's hype and this and that." But if they have been hyped like this, if they had that exposure, and they are nefarious punchers or whatever the situation is, you don't want to underestimate them, and then boom, I get clipped with a counter shot, and then the fight's over because I'm badly wobbled. You know what I'm saying? So I think Jacobs was figuring things out, and you always want to pay that respect before you jump, you know what I mean, jump off the ledge and go guns blazing, if you will. And a credit to Golovkin for that, because you don't know if he's showing you his best work or anything. So you have to figure it out on the go. But anyway, I thought Jacobs pulled it out. I thought he was landing pretty clean shots. After the knockdown is where it just kind of like Warren Kovalev. He got better after the knockdown. You know what I mean? So that's just my thoughts. As far as the rematch, why are more media and fans pushing this particular rematch? Like, I get it. I'm just being honest with you. Canelo versus Triple G, I want to see the rematch. I think I'm always been a big fan of immediate rematches, but personal taste in terms of competition wise, I would rather see Golovkin versus Charlo or Jacobs next. Is mandatory, or rematch the guy that put you in a close fight. That's just my personal taste. You know what I mean? Because I think those would all be good fights. But you know how it works. I understand the business and the bigger money fight obviously would be Canelo versus Triple G too. So I mean, if it happens, it happened. None of the 3 fights I just named are bad or terrible fights in my opinion. It's just kind of a matter. But to me, it's kind of a double standard, if you will, in the sport of boxing. Danny Jacobs, he pushes Golovkin. He stops his knockout streak of 23 knockouts in a row, pushes him in a tough fight, which has been admitted by, I told you I was there. I was at the Garden. It's been admitted by Golovkin and Abel Sanchez. Abel Sanchez has done nothing but show respect he showed more respect for Jacobs after facing him than he did going into the Canelo fight. I have interviews with Abel, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, Canelo's good, but he's no Jacobs. When Triple G moves up to 168, Jacobs he's the man." You know what I'm saying? So they've already showed. So if you're paying him that much respect, then that means he must have done something in the fight to gain your respect, right? Because I think before Abel was talking about a knockout or something, Triple G would knock out Jacobs. So obviously he gained their favor and gained their respect in that match. So that means it was a close fight from what we've seen, what we've heard. So why is there no push for an immediate rematch in that situation? But Canelo has a close fight. He's new to the division. He's young. He's the A side, so he could really do whatever he wants and pursue Saunders Lemieux winner or whatever. And then people are like, "Oh, Canelo." So it's kind of, I've noticed this a lot in boxing. One fighter will not like when something's done to him, but in another situation, that person is doing the same thing to that other fighter. So I think Jacobs, he's definitely earned a Golovkin rematch. And you guys can say whatever you want. Oh, like some people, see, like I said, just listen to what people say. If you're honest with yourself, then there's no reason to lie. I told you that the Golovkin Jacobs fight was a close affair, right? Which is why I'm up for a rematch. But I read comments from some of you guys occasionally, and the radical fans would be like, no, we don't need to see a rematch. Golovkin beat him, easy work. So if it was so easy, then why is Abel Sanchez not even saying it was easy? He was saying it was his toughest fight. You know what I'm saying? So this stuff doesn't make sense. You can always tell who's being radical. And I want to know from you guys, who had a better showing versus Golovkin? Canelo or Jacobs, in your opinion? So I honestly think Jacobs he's a vet, has an amateur pedigree, and he's probably watched the tape, figured out little things that he feels he could correct, and he feels he could beat this guy. He's coming off of a performance versus Luis Cuba Arias, and honestly, I had Jacobs winning that fight. I told you guys on the Ego Fight Club, but I didn't think it'd be like a one-sided beatdown, especially the way Luis Arias was talking. He was like, "Don't run. Who hitting the deck? This dude, I seen him get knocked down in the amateurs." I was like, "Oh man, he's coming to bang. He's coming to bring it." And then he really put up a dud, and I guess said his foot had a blister or something. But we can't go off of little stuff like that. It's the fight game. It's a brutal. I mean, sometimes people have fractured hands and stuff. A foot blister, you gotta make it through. You gotta push it through. I'm sure Floyd Mayweather in his 50 victories has had the flu, or you know what I mean, a blister or fractured hand. I know for a fact he's had fractured hand because he has brittle hands. So that's just my thoughts on the Golovkin Jacobs rematch. I'm shocked that there's not a bigger push for that particular fight. It was a close fight. I would love to see a rematch. I think Jacobs, he's just a likable character. Family man, battled cancer, beat cancer, does a lot in that regard in terms of like charity, hospital visits and stuff like that. And then from the fighter aspect, comes in shape. I don't think of him missing weight and a whole bunch of stuff. And he comes to fight, comes to scrap. So coming off the Luis Cuba Arias, being with Eddie Hearn, being on HBO, I definitely want to see him back in the mix with a top name, and especially like Golovkin. I think us as fans, we have to start pushing for that. We have to start pushing for, like, you have a close call, and in some people's mind, the other person won or is too close to call it, and you thought it might have been a draw or something like that. Because in my opinion, like I said, I was live there, and the Golovkin-Jacobs fight, there's no way I thought it was going to be a unanimous decision. I'm like, how are all three judges going to just agree on one? And then guess what they gave it? A unanimous decision. Even if it was like a split or majority decision or a draw, like Jacob said, that would have made more sense. But really, all three judges just conveniently had it for Golovkin in that type of fight? Crazy. But fans got to start pushing for that. It's like, how do you just narrowly escape whether you thought Golovkin won or lost, and then there's just no push to ever see it again? I mean, we should push for the good fights, and I thought the first fight was good. Had a very good card with Sor Rungvisai and Chocolatito as the co-main, so run it back. Let me know what you guys think. Jacob says he's 100% sure he can make the adjustments to beat Golovkin. The other thing is, I look at it, Jacobs, he's more athletic, better speed, better foot movement, you know what I mean? And I don't really think it's, a lot of people keep blaming Golovkin's age. No, oh, it's his age. No, I think it's the same Golovkin. If you put Matthew Macklin or Brian Rose or somebody in there with Golovkin in his next fight, then they're getting bombed out, and it would look like the Golovkin versus Proska or something. It's just the elevation of the competition is why the fights are looking different in his last 2-3 fights. Let me know your thoughts. Do you want to see a Triple G Jacobs rematch? Does Jacobs deserve it? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.